Hi, Chris LeSueur with the Preferred Experience podcast. Welcome to episode 6. We are keeping it going each week, every Tuesday, and we're releasing a different podcast every week on different topics. So today's topic is on sleep, and hopefully it won't put you to sleep, but if it does, that's kind of what we're after. So the sleep episode is... we have 5 tips for better sleep. That's what we're going to focus on today, or what I'm going to focus on. And about 7 years ago, I always reflect back to these stories, but I did the SILFIT event called Kokoro, and it is a 55-hour event with no sleep. And training up for that, they always reminded us to not practice the no sleep because it wasn't really good for us to be awake that long. But I did make it 55 hours. There were 26 of us that started and 19 that finished. And we made it without any sleep. And one of the events that we did, evolutions that we did, was we went to this mountain called Palomar Mountain in Southern California. It's probably about half an hour to an hour out of Encinitas area where SILFIT was headquartered at the time. And we did this ruck. We started at the bottom of the mountain. We got there as the sun was going down, and it was a rainy, cloudy night. You couldn't see any stars in the sky. It was just super dark. And we're hiking up this mountain with a ruck. Probably around 45 pounds of weight in the ruck. And we're going up that mountain. Felt like really was pretty much all night hiking up it. And as we're going up the mountain, it was a little easier to go up it than go down it. As we were actually coming down the mountain, probably around 1 or 2 in the morning, somewhere in that area. Time could be a little off on that. But it was dark and cold, and it was raining, and the rain had stopped at this time, and we're going down the mountain, and all of a sudden, I would hear these thuds. People would be falling on the ground, falling asleep as they're hiking, and I thought, that's crazy that happened. I was wondering what that was, and we just kept hiking, and we'd help that person up, and then a little while later, it actually happened to me. I fell asleep for a split second and fell down on the ground, and huge thud, fell asleep, and it woke me up right away. That only happened once, but the reason I tell that story is if you're not focusing on your sleep, there's a good chance you're going to fall down in life because sleep affects everything. It's not just feeling good after a good night's sleep. It really affects everything. And as I've prepared for today's podcast, working at home, if you can't tell about today, a little easier to do it here than to do it at the gym when we have open gym and different things. Hopefully a little better sound quality today too. But if you really focus on your sleep each night, you're going to do better. And this month, we're going to do a huge focus on recovery. And the first thing I wanted to start with is sleep. We all know that sleep's a huge factor in recovery. Nutrition's a huge factor. Working in mobility and stretching is going to be a huge factor that helps you to really carry on and do your best in and out of the gym. So sleep's been really interesting to me lately because I've had a lot of people lately that, not a lot of people, but a few people in my circle, including my dad and my sister-in-law and our good friend Maureen that everyone knows has had cancer. And as I've been studying different things on sleep, I've noticed that I will get really tired sometimes getting up every day at 5, going to the 5:30 a.m. class. And I've really noticed that I need to take a little more time to recover, either by getting to bed earlier. That's the best way for me. I have a hard time sleeping past 5 or 6 in the morning just because I'm so used to getting up at that time. It's just a time that I naturally wake up. and then I'll just try and sit in bed or lay down in bed and sleep longer, but I just toss forever. So if I get to bed earlier, I get a better night's sleep. But all these different people have been getting cancer, and then it's just happening to tons of people across the world. And I think we're all just going really hard. And one of the things that I learned about what sleep affects is it actually affects cancer cells in your body. And if you're only getting, some people, I don't know how they do it, I get more than this, but some people are only getting like 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and it's really affecting it. And it actually can cause your cancer cells in your body. Some of the research that I've done, I'm not a doctor as we know, but some of the research that I've done, it shows that cancer cells can actually double as you don't get enough sleep. And about 5 years ago, I went to it was actually a SilFit seminar, and they had a sleep expert come in named Dr. Kirk Parsley, and he was a Navy SEAL, and then later became a doctor to the Navy SEALs, lives in the San Diego area, and he has really put a lot of research into sleep and how it affects us performance-wise and hormone-wise and all kinds of different things. And one of the things that he taught at this seminar was we need to get more than 6 hours of sleep a night at a minimum. If we get less than 6 hours, it causes damage. And I personally try and hit about 7 hours a night, at least be in bed about 7 hours a night. It doesn't mean I get 7 hours. It just it allows me to get a little more sleep. And we all have different sleep cycles, and we could do a whole episode on sleep cycles and how that works. But the things that sleep will really affect, one is the cancer. It can cause cancer. I've learned recently too that we all have cancer cells in our body, every one of us. And the way we do things, genetics of course can affect it, but sleep and nutrition is a huge factor on how our cells regenerate in the body and how they work. And I actually even learned while studying up for this that the genetic mutation of your cells can change if you don't sleep enough. So it's definitely happening with people that it could be the cause of cancer. We know there's so many different causes, but that's just been on my mind lately that we need to really focus on that. For that reason alone, we don't want that to happen. But I think that could really help us. So some of the other factors that sleep can affect is it can affect hormones in our body, including testosterone, cortisol, leptin, Grehlin, melatonin, and I even learned that vitamin D is a hormone in our body. And the more sleep that you do not get, it can affect your reaction time. It can affect weight gain, and we'll go into a couple of these in a minute. It affects your metabolism. It causes higher cortisol that can increase hunger. Think stress eating. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and people definitely when they get stressed start to eat more, and when we don't get enough sleep, it starts to cause some stress on our body, which can make you hungry through the hormone Grehlin. Grehlin is a hormone that affects your hunger levels. And then leptin is a hormone that affects your satiety levels. So like you feel like, I think I need more food. And sometimes that's because of sleep, which I found really interesting. I've noticed when I go a lot of days in a row of getting not enough sleep, 6 hours in that area, that I am actually more hungry. And so it was cool to read why that happens, and it's the hormones in our body. It also affects testosterone, like I talked about, and that's an area that I've been working on improving is sleeping, because I was tested in that area, 43 years old, and I think a lot of us start to dip in testosterone. I'm still in a good, healthy level, but I'd like to see it a little bit more, which I think would really help me in the gym, be able to perform a little better and also have more energy throughout the day. It also affects vitamin D, so I've been taking a supplement for that. Also trying to get in the sun a little more, which I felt like I was getting in the sun plenty, but apparently I'm not. So I blame it on sleep on that vitamin D getting low. It also can affect human growth hormone. There's only a couple ways to have human growth hormone happen in our bodies, and one of them is sleep. So it really affects how we recover and grow muscle and all those different things. The main thing I want to focus on today, wanted to give you some good reasons first on why you want to get more sleep. It does affect all those areas, which makes a huge difference in our life. But the other thing that I wanted to focus on was ways that you can get, five ways that you can get a good night's sleep. So I have 5 tips that I've come up with. And the first one is when you wake up first thing in the morning, a lot of us go for that caffeinated beverage to wake us up. And I've learned that that is not the right thing to go for right away. They say to wait about 90 minutes before you have that. Now, for us that go to the gym at 5 a.m. and 5:30 in the morning, it's easier to want to grab that caffeinated beverage. I have been known to have some pre-workout that time of day and, or disrupt amino with a little caffeine to wake me up. But I've learned recently that we really dehydrate our bodies as we sleep, and we can lose up to a liter of water in our bodies per night while we sleep. So the first thing that was recommended is drink 20 ounces of water first thing in the morning, because that allows your body to start working and get hydrated, and it makes a huge difference. So I've been working on doing that more lately, and really don't know that I feel like I felt fine just doing that and skipping the caffeine. They say if you're going to add caffeine, wait 90 minutes to drink something with caffeine before you do that, and it'll actually allow the caffeine to work better in your body, and you'll notice a bigger effect from that caffeine. The second thing is to stop drinking caffeine by about 2 in the morning. They say that caffeine will have effects in your body between 6 and 8 hours. And we have lots of people that say, I could drink a Monster before I go to bed and I'll still be able to fall asleep. Well, if that's happening, that is a very good sign that you are not getting enough sleep and your adrenals are messed up and different things. So we want to focus on not having that caffeine later in the day. Makes a huge difference. And then the other thing I learned, the number 3, is stop exercising about 4 hours before you go to bed. Your body gets kind of revved up when you're working out, especially with what we do. We don't do light workouts at the gym, and it will really help you to be able to get a better night's sleep. The fourth thing that I have is be consistent. Just like being consistent in the gym, we need to be consistent in our sleep. So we need to choose a time that we go to bed each night and that we get up each day. And that allows us, by doing that, you can actually allow your body to, you can get by with less sleep, but hopefully you'll be able to get around that 7 hours. I learned that 8 hours is a myth, and that there's certain sleep cycles that we need to go through a night. I believe it was around 6 sleep cycles. And some people are around 90 minutes and some people are less. So some people can get by with less, but 7 to 7.5 hours seems to be the really good area to be able to recover well. So that's what I shoot for, is to be in bed about 7 hours a night. Now that doesn't mean that I'm sleeping a full 7 hours, but it does allow me to get enough sleep and feel rested for the day. So be consistent. Number 5 is monitor your sleep. Now, not all of us are going to have apps, but the Apple Watch has plenty of apps. I use one on it called Auto Sleep. I think it was near free, and it works really well. And then the other thing that I've been using lately is called the Whoop. And a lot of people have seen me in the gym with both of these devices, my Apple Watch and my Whoop. Now notice the Whoop doesn't have a screen. It's more of a performance tracker, and it doesn't just monitor sleep, even though that's a huge part of it. It also monitors your performance in the gym by way of strain. So your strain being your heart rate and all that. So my highest heart rate strain that I've had recently has been around 20.5. They rate it out of 21. And I get that when I go on long runs. I actually hit that the other day when I did an 11-mile run. But in the gym, a lot of times it'll be around 10 or more. Depends on the type of workout. If we're doing more strength, the strain's not as high of a level. But it's really helped me to be able to push that strain. But we could do a whole episode just on strain. But today, we'll get back to sleep before I go down that hole too far. So it'll monitor your sleep. It monitors how many times you wake up per night. It monitors your resting heart rate, which I've been around 42 or 3 lately as I sleep. And then it also does HRV, which is really high tech. I don't know of any other apps that are doing HRV right now. There might be a couple others. I know that Jimbo at the gym's using the Halo. Same with Adrian. She's using one of those. And those are supposed to be great, but I haven't personally used one of those. The Whoop has been really good, and it's pushed me. It's also caused a little stress, to be honest, because the nights that I'm not getting enough sleep or I'm not getting the recovery I want, it's making me want to sleep longer, which I think is good. I think that's one of the big things by tracking your sleep that helps you. Don't think we should let it stress us, but I think we should let it motivate us. And the Whoop recently received an excellent award out of all the apps. University of Arizona did a study on them, and they came up with an excellent rating for the Whoop after about 3 years of studying some different ones and studying the Whoop. So some guys at Harvard started this company called Whoop, and I've been really impressed with it so far. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes today, but I'll cover those 5 tips again. So drink 20 ounces of water first thing in the morning. Another thing they recommended with drinking that 20 ounces, and it's really hard for us this time of year, but to get in the sun as soon as you can when you're drinking that water, as soon as you wake up. If you can get in the sun, it allows the melatonin in our body, another hormone, to go down. So when we're sleepy, our melatonin levels go up, I believe, and it allows it to get to a better level. So I notice in the summer, when the sun comes up really early, it's a lot easier for me to get up in that 5 o'clock hour, and I'm able to go a lot better. So do that by drinking more water, get in the sunlight, stop drinking caffeine by 2 p.m., stop exercising 4 hours before bed, be consistent in your sleep, and then monitor your sleep or track your sleep. And I challenge you today to start monitoring your sleep. Start tracking it. Anything you track, I wrote down something wherever I put it here. Everything you do better, everything you do better with a good night's sleep. And I know that if you track anything, you're going to get better. It just pushes you to do a little bit better. We do that in the gym with Wattify. We track all of our workouts, and then we have, different ways. Some people just write it down. There's a lot of different ways, but as we track, we get better results. And I challenge you to do that. And that's today's episode. Thanks for being here. Subscribe to our podcast if you haven't done it yet. Also, leave me a review if you haven't done it yet. I'd love any feedback you have. I'm of course, trying to track this too, and trying to just make it better each week. So I hope the sound quality is a little better. I haven't been fully satisfied with the sound the last couple weeks, but hopefully it sounds better today. And I sure appreciate you listening and all your support and being a part of the gym and this podcast. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. Bye.